No, we're.
Yeah, we'll give a minute anyway. We're still missing, um. No, Melissa's came on now, right?
Yeah, Melissa's on, so you got-
So you're the forum. We'll give her 1 or 2 more minutes. Did you hear from? I'm not sure, I won't say it's wrong. Ellen, did you hear from her? Oh, there, see, there she is. Well, we're all set to go.
Chair.
All right, so I guess we can go ahead and call meeting to order. It is 6:59 PM. I'm gonna start with reviewing the agenda for removal adjustments or adjustments of any item on the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they need to change or adjust this evening? Next section is public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time? So I guess we'll move on to the town plan update, which really, is gonna start out with easy in the smart growth and vital conditions framework. Yeah. Presentation.
Not messing around with how I can share it. Share things I can put it as a background so your faces can still be there. All the shares. Folks on Zoom, can you see that presentation? Melissa or Ellen, can you see?
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it fine. Thank you.
So as we continue to go through this update process, I thought it would be a good time to bring in some perspectives for how to approach the planning process, especially to keep in alignment with the state goals, which is one of the requirements for a town plan is being consistent with the goals outlined in state statute. And 2 perspectives I want to bring to y'all today is one, the smart growth principles, which are inherently defined in the state goals. And then bringing Ron Denvis in to talk a little bit more about the vital conditions framework, which is an additional perspective that I believe will bring a more holistic approach to the planning process. First, I want to start with an overview of state planning goals as set out in statute under section title 24, section 4302. First is the planning purpose. This is what I kind of consider the state vision statement for all planning. And I've broken it out into bullet points. And these shape the actual planning goals themselves. So very similar to a municipal plan where you have the vision statement and then your actual goals and policies that back it up. These points I think are important to be working towards in any planning process, and Bristol does a very good job, I think, already of keeping in alignment with these planning purposes of promoting health, prosperity, encouraging renewable resources, land use, growth, balancing all that. And of course, balancing that with the rights of people and their property. There are 15 state planning goals. These are summarized from statute themselves. To give a brief overview of these 15 goals, I wanted to just dive into a little bit further. Goals 1, 8, and 11. But overall, these are very much in alignment with the planning purpose. Just further diving into that purpose into more segmented goals. First one being maintain historic settlement patterns. And what does that look like? We see it here with the Bristol downtown itself. Compact villages that are separated by rural countryside. Working to avoid strict development and encouraging more high dense or more dense residential development in already developed centers. And then something new is, of course, the housing targets that the state has been talking a lot about from the housing needs assessment. And in statute, they're really focusing on planning growth within these already developed centers and growth areas. I think it's also interesting that they include economic growth as part of the historic settlement pattern. You see that in the downtown here, with a mix of residential and economic commercial businesses. And there's a push to revitalize existing village centers and then also to put new economic growth into designated growth areas. So keeping everything in alignment. And within this goal of maintaining historic settlement patterns, this is where the smart growth principles live. They're defined in statute and live within this goal. And to me, that suggests that smart growth principles are really more about the development of infrastructure, of businesses, of housing, actual structures, and physical built environments.
So,
Yeah.
the commentary about business being like commercial, they're two different things, and I think we don't want to gloss over business being, I don't know if industrial is the right word, but business that makes widgets as opposed to retail operations. You know, people come in and buy something that's already made.
Yep.
And I think it's very. And there's a lot of sensitivity to it, but I think the development or the business park on Firehouse Drive or over there, where that is. Whatever Kevin Harper's done or. What's that called on Pine Street, whatever he's done there or will do there. And maybe there's something else too that doesn't come out. And I think those are equally as important, if not more important, than what's going on downtown.
Yeah, very much heard. Yeah, I think the economic growth does. There is an important distinction there between a retail business and something that's actually fabricating something. But both I would consider fall under this concept of economic growth as both.
To put it bluntly, you don't make any money downstream. You don't, you just
Yeah.
don't. I mean, there's businesses down there, they're holding their own. But nobody's getting rich down there, you know,
You can live.
you can live. And that. And the jobs there are. Not to,
This is the word that I'm hearing as well, jobs is what,
yeah, and I don't think you're gonna,
everything depends on having jobs, pretty much.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
so.
think downtown or the retail section. Is gonna drive that job growth that.
Oh, not a chance.
No, I think it's just the opposite. I think you're correct. I think you need growth outside of the downtown in order to add to so the growth, the improvement of your downtown becomes secondary as you improve around it. We've got a stable downtown, fairly stable, I feel.
Been great.
And if keeping that's important, is keeping what we have. But I think growing, like you're talking, like expanding some other growth areas, and the more economic growth you have in your center, the more you're gonna see people visiting our downtowns, the more needs, the more desires to be there, so.
You don't want even a light industrial job creator in downtown. I mean, that's not what you really want.
And
So, yeah.
yeah, and
No, also, Bristol Bakery just closed, and people aren't going to move into town if there's no jobs. Necessarily. I mean, there'll be more like
If there's no what? I didn't. Jobs. Okay, I'm sorry.
jobs. Yeah, that they can do in town.
yes. Hearing everything y'all saying, I very much agree, and I think that's we need something to bring jobs in so that we can continue to keep the downtown stable and heck, maybe even above stable.
Maybe the best example of thing is high school.
Mm.
And that's a job creator. A lot of traffic to the town comes from the people who go to school every day to go to work. Anyway, think like that. I don't know how many people work over there, but it's gotta be a fair amount.
It's a significant employer and.
I mean, if you look at like when Autumn Park left, I
Yeah,
remember when Almost Home was open, just speaking with the owner there. That wasn't her her regular daily clientele, but most of the employees that would shop once a week, let's say. You have 150 people, you're losing a $10 sale once a week. And then you multiply that out by 52 weeks, all of a sudden, that's a huge dent in your bottom line when you're making, especially when you.
it had to be for some people. People.
Yeah, so. But having those folks have helped keep those businesses going and thriving, so.
We gotta have it. That's-
And I think this goal goes more to if we're thinking about maintaining historic settlement patterns, of having a thriving downtown that is supported by economic opportunities on the periphery, kind of like Chris was talking about, how if we have more businesses at Stony Hill, if we have something come in at Bristol Works, or maybe there's something that an area that gets developed in the future that add to the overall economic well-being of the town through these historic settlement patterns.
So I think the thing that gets lost is that when we talk about historic settlement patterns. Industry or people making widgets.
Mhm.
Was went hand in hand with houses.
Mhm.
You know, and that has. Been separated. And it needs to be. It really needs to be brought to the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, I think thinking about the history, well, I mean, the box factory, the mill down here on South Street, all these were job creators and really boosted Bristol's economic growth. And without industrial opportunities, there are no job opportunities to further sustain growth or even just the functioning of it now. So good point.
Or else we're just a bedroom community, which is,
Yes.
we are, I guess. But that a lot of the money, a lot of the custom, you might say, then goes to Burlington or wherever they're going.
Mhm.
Because that's where they're going, they're not gonna make necessarily an extra stop, so if they're local jobs, I think that's best, of course.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just wondering when we're talking about this, say with the community and what we're, the plan and what we're working on, would it be better to refer to what you're talking about as manufacturing as opposed to industrial? Because industrial will turn that word will turn a lot of people off.
I mean, yeah.
So it's defined as light industrial is the definition we use currently, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when communicating with the town population, I think manufacturing would be a better word to use.
When I brought up industrial, it was. With a certain amount of caution that we don't wanna have. Steel mills here and all that.
Yeah, it's not likely, but
Heavy industry, so we would, I'm
And
sure,
heavy industry is not.
Yeah,
well, it's, it's defined,
It's prohibited,
it is prohibited, even though defined.
heavy industry, yes.
Well, you need to have a definition to make sure you can,
I guess I read that.
um,
Right, yes, light industry is fine.
so yeah, what I'm hearing is that. And as we continue through this update process, really taking into account the balance and need of economic growth in certain areas to withstand development long term, and also to bring in a housing element there, with the point of if there's no jobs, there's no reason for housing. Not that there's no reason. Um, there's obviously still reason for housing.
What happened?
Without jobs, you just become a veteran community more so than we are. But,
You go forward,
the next goal I wanted to just focus on was the identifying, protecting, and preserving important natural and historic features. Something that I've heard a lot of and hear from this planning commission, and that's already written in the town plan, is a desire to protect the natural beauty of Bristol and the environment around Bristol, and Bristol being the gateway to the Green Mountains. The natural resources here are definitely significant and play a big role in Bristol as a community, as a town. So I wanted to just highlight this goal, as I think it really aligns with the goal of the planning commission and the views of the town. What this goal involves is obviously identifying where we have significant natural or fragile areas, identifying the water resources, any significant roads or waterways or views, and other significant historical or archaeological sites. And I think Bristol is very fortunate to have a wealth of natural resources that are not only beautiful, but also important for the ecological functioning. Thinking about Bristol Pond and how it plays into ecosystems with beavers and the fishing there, and even if it might be a shallow pond lake, it still has significant resources for not only the natural communities, but also for recreational options. And keeping these kind of areas in mind as we continue through the planning process. Kind of jumping off that is recreational opportunities. We're definitely seeing with the development review board's past approval of a mountain bike and hiking formal trails on Hogback or Deer Leap Mountain. We're definitely seeing an increase in desire for recreational opportunities. And Bristol does have a significant amount of parks already. Bartlett Falls, Winona Lake, Sycamore Park. There's the Bristol Trail Network, the hiking and biking trails that will be coming in. And I think that as a resource for Bristol is something to consider. What are ways to balance the growing desire for recreational opportunities while also keeping in mind environmental concerns, while also balancing economic drivers. It's a it's a dance to play. And then lastly, of course, the topic everyone loves to talk about is housing. And this goal is to ensure the availability of safe and affordable housing. And for this, these are the four subsections to this. And subsection A, talking about the needs of a diverse social and economic groups or income groups. I wanted to bring to your attention that within this highlighted area, in our downtown village, this comes from place data. The percentage of those who are low to moderate income is over the 51% kind of standard, and it sits around 55.12%. So that's folks that are paying more than 30% of their income for housing, and that is within the village. So just something to consider in terms of data as we continue forward. The village already is pretty built out. Not that it's at a cap, but it's already very developed, dense. There's not a lot of options within the village for new housing developments per se. But something to consider moving forward is affordability. And a topic on everything's tongues. Accessory dwelling units are brought into this goal, and are a topic that has been brought to this planning commission often, so we're all familiar with that one. But these were some of the goals that I wanted to highlight just as they are prominent to current planning in terms of topics that have been raised multiple times. Housing, of course, is a statewide concern and topic that is being debated at the state legislative level down to municipalities. And will largely be a discussion until we get enough housing. I don't know when that will be, but probably never, or maybe not ever, but it'll be something that will be continually worked on. Lastly, I wanted to bring us back to the smart growth principles. And there are 9 tenets, guiding principles for how to plan for growth in a way that balances environmental, economic, and social needs in a way that promotes growth that is sustainable long term. These are principles and guidelines of sort, and like I was saying before, these to me very much come to the built infrastructure and environments that we have. Mostly wanted to point out the settlement pattern that is reflected in the maintaining historical settlement patterns, really steering away from fragmentation, scattered development, linear development, really working to increase infrastructure in the municipality to areas that are planned for growth, not just willy-nilly. And wanted to highlight these just as guiding principles throughout the planning process, but also as they're part of the planning goals. This is something we'll have to keep consistent with throughout our planning. So I wanted to highlight them and just bring them to your attention. If there's any questions on certain ones, happy to discuss about those. But these are kind of what I see as guiding principles throughout the planning process. And can fall into each of the different elements, from economic development to housing, to municipal services and facilities. Looking at all that. But when we think about planning and the smart growth, if those are guidelines for development and growth, how do we consider the actual community that we are planning for in our development and our growth? How do we plan for the people in the community and not just for the infrastructure and the built environment? And how can we do that in a holistic approach? And for that, I'm going to bring Ron up to talk a little bit about the vital conditions framework.
Great. Could you stay on that slide?
Yes.
And where would you like me? Mike?
Wherever you want.
Yeah, wherever you
This,
want.
does this work perfect? So I'm gonna pivot a little bit, but, thanks.
Come up to the table.
Nobody comes.
That's great.
It's an honor.
Oh,
They might be able to hear you.
Miss Chairperson, can you come up to the table? Or am I speaking out of turn?
No, you're fine.
So, one of the reasons why I really like this slide and I love all the information AZ provided before this. This is the first slide where the word people is mentioned. All the other things talk about land, important things, land, housing, resources, business. This is the first slide where we start talking about residents. And one of the things that when I heard there was a planning process going on as a community member, I want my voice heard during this process. So I jumped in. It's the first chance I had to participate in this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And was just so impressed with the vision of Bristol here, of wanting to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to thrive. You don't hear that very often. I rarely hear that in my travels, where a municipality in their planning process says, wait a second. Yes, we have to do all of these really important things that the state requires, but none of this is worth its weight if the people aren't benefiting from it, if the people aren't thriving. So the fact that your vision includes thriving people here is really reinforcing to me as a community member, and I'm 100% behind it. And whatever you need me to do to help support this work, I'm here. Next slide. So when we start looking at what thriving means, because it's a term I hear thrown around a lot. What is thriving, and how do we know if people are thriving? Gallup has been doing research for the last 18 years, measuring the percentage of people in the United States that are thriving. And we've had 3 points in our history where more than half of the residents in America are not thriving for more than 2 quarters. So they do the data 4 times a year, and they're tracking when what percentage of Americans are actually thriving. And even at our best point over the last 18 years, 40% of our population are struggling. They're not thriving. They're not reaching their potential as citizens. Right now, we're at a 48.9% thriving, which means 51% of our population is struggling. Next slide. And so if you start looking at how do you define and quantify thriving, it's really the best model that I've seen is the vital conditions framework. It's a framework that I'm very familiar with. I've worked with this framework and these folks for about 15 years when I was in Pennsylvania. And it really kind of focuses on health and safety, housing, meaningful work, learning, transportation, nature, and belonging. When all of these things are present and all of these things are positive in a community, then people thrive. What I did in my capacity when I was on the board of Mountain Community Health, our local community health center, we really wanted to look at how healthy we're and what are the factors that are causing poor health. And so this aligned perfectly with what we were trying to do. And when we started looking at the data specific to Bristol, boy, some really interesting things were appearing about some of the great assets that we have and some of the not so great deficits that we need to address. And I've shared some of the data with AZ and Greg, and I think it enhances how we look at this planning process going forward. The folks from the Ripple Foundation, who are kind of the thought leaders around the vital conditions, and the folks from Gallup have been kind of comparing notes here. And this has led to a really interesting national movement going on. And if you can go to the next slide, where the Ripple Foundation is initiating this great stride goal of across the country, can we increase the number of people thriving by 20 percentage points? So can we go over the next 10 years from 49% to 69%? And what they're doing is they're creating a national community practice. If a community would like to participate in this, a community can petition and be part of this movement. It's non-binding, it doesn't cost any money. There are no requirements other than you're sharing what you're learning with other folks around the country, and they're sharing what they're learning. So we've got this opportunity to start thinking about how we increase the thriving communities through a shared peer group. I've been very interested in trying to find ways of getting a great stride community in Addison County. And if it's something that the town of Bristol would be interested in, I think it's worth pursuing. The bottom line here, though, is as you're going into this 8-year plan and thinking about what building in some of this language around what people need to thrive, and start looking at the data specific to Bristol that provide us with some insight into what we could be doing as a community to help thrive. I don't think the answer to this is going to come from Washington, D.C. I don't think the answer to this is going to be coming from Montpelier. I think the answer is going to be coming from the community. And the fact that you're encouraging this to be a community document with community voice, again, boy, it's really visionary, and whatever I can do to help support it, please. I mean, I'm going to be there as a community member, but I'd also like to be here to help you folks out as you kind of work through all this. Happy to answer any questions or any comments or anything that you may disagree with.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's what we want. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, improving quality of life is pretty important. So I don't know all my in-depth details on it yet, but logic's correct. And happy's important.
It's not rocket science, yeah. I mean, it's, do we have sufficient housing? I mean, the big thing that I've come up with in the data is economic mobility is the biggest challenge. And for all the reasons you folks described, housing is expensive, childcare is expensive. Medical care is expensive. And so when you look at what it costs to afford to live in a place like Bristol, the data are kind of indicating that 30–40% of the residents of Addison County are struggling to pay their bills.
But do you think a town still actually has the wherewithal to solve or help solve these problems, which to me seem like, you know, our healthcare system, our insurance system, and more and more, that's not up to Bristol.
Absolutely, yeah, no, we're not gonna,
We're talking about, talking about being secure and happy and healthy. Well, give us all health insurance and everybody's gonna be a lot less stressed out. For example, do you want to change your job? Well, then you can change your job. It's like,
Agreed.
Big stuff.
I make a real distinction, quite frankly, and this is my opinion. I don't think our healthcare system does a lot to keep us healthy.
No.
I think our healthcare system does a lot to take care of us when we're sick. And I'm glad that they're there doing that. But our healthcare system is not in the business to keep us healthy. And so I think that becomes a community responsibility. How do we achieve health? And from the work that I've done over the last 40 years, I think 80% of what makes us sick has nothing to do with healthcare. And it has everything to do with your connectivity, your connectivity to community, your economic status, your ability to pay bills, your ability to process and deal with stress. Those are the things that keep us healthy.
So you're saying stresses, which we can't really deal with, like insurance bills, and they didn't paying bills. Somehow we'll be able to make it all less stressful with the proper kind of community support.
So if I was gonna, it's gonna be multidisciplinary. If I was gonna walk that back, I would be saying, number one, connection to community. And I've heard you folks talk about how do we get the folks whose voices we don't often hear to the table. And maybe some of that is mistrust of government. Maybe some of that is I've tried to talk before and nobody's listened. But the data tell me that it's folks are stressed because they're working 2 jobs. They're trying to keep their head above water. They're trying to get their kids' homework done. They're trying to put food on the table. They don't have the time nor the energy to participate in community. They don't feel connected to community. And how we go about providing that opportunity for folks, and this isn't easy work. If it was easy work, geez, we would have done it. And I'm not saying that, boy, the town of Bristol is responsible for this. I think we all play a role in this. But when leadership says this stuff is important, how do we get at this stuff? I think that's where you can provide the opportunity for people's voices.
Ellen, you have your hand raised. Your question.
Thanks. Yeah, there's so much here that I want to respond to. It's hard to know where to start. And I think, Ron, you and I connected at an event recently around the idea of social determinants of health. And that's kind of what you're talking about. And I hope my signal is clear because I'm seeing some buffering. I spent a lot of time with the Vermont housing assessment this week. And one of the things that occurred to me was if there's a way for us to consider some solutions around our deficits and areas for growth, deficits that are clearly identified in childcare and senior housing, those types of services could provide jobs as well as housing. And like thinking about ways to look at at the opportunities that are in there, and create more connection, more community, more jobs, more housing. There are so many things that I've been thinking about in terms of these. One of the things that really, really stuck out for me in the housing assessment was how many of these homes in our community are underutilized. Essentially, you've got single people in homes that have 4, 5, 6 bedrooms. And I know we have initiatives in the state to help with ADUs, right? And adding structures that can house folks. But are there any efforts to help homeowners who might be looking to purchase or renovate one of these large farm homes? I'm in one of them that could easily be a triplex if I had the funds, right, to like do that and create additional housing in that way. Does that fall under the ADU initiative? So there's just a lot of things that I've been thinking about as I look at all the data. We have a lot of data, access to a lot of data, and finding a way to both address the deficits and the strengths. And I'm thinking a little bit, Ron, when you were talking a minute ago, a little bit of the mutual aid model, and like the idea of, you guys were debating this word, manufacturing versus industry. I was thinking services too, and like tapping into folks like me who I own a business, but I provide a service. I don't provide product. I don't do manufacturing. It's a service business. Is there a way to help people who do service providing as a way to do economic in the community? If in my business I could be an employer, I could expand. I could definitely look at my business and find ways to create opportunity to hire others. I might need a little support around that, but that is something I can see myself doing as a service provider. So just a couple thoughts that I'm trying to keep track of as this conversation is happening that I wanted to throw out there.
Thank you for that. I actually, there is a Vermont program for helping landowners renovate homes. It's called BHIP, Vermont Housing Improvement Program. I am not fully well versed with it because there's not many people in Bristol who are coming to me asking about it. But it's definitely something out there that helps folks convert existing units into new units, essentially, to do renovation. I think you can get up to $50,000 for a unit. But there are programs out there already. So I guess to the planning commission, it's how do we encourage and support the implementation of those programs in Bristol?
The CHIP program.
The CHIP program, yep. Yep, so that's another one.
So education, right? How do we help people take advantage of, like, let them know these programs exist? How do we advertise them, educate homeowners around these options and why it would behoove them to partake in them?
And with a cautious approach, this is one that, while we talk all the time about infilling in the village, filling these larger homes because of underutilization. Part of the underutilization is that there is no place for folks to go that are in the large homes. So converting all of our existing single family homes into multifamily units, it changes the dynamics of what you have. The example I use all the time is the hill section of Burlington, one of the most beautiful housing sections in all of Vermont. And it's a beat up college apartment complex that isn't really fun to live in. So the quality of life there isn't what we have currently. So figuring out that very careful balance. The big secret is, I now look at my neighbors. I have 2 of them, seniors, older, no place to go. They could sell their home, and this family with or 2 could move into that without much problem. I know young families that are looking for homes of that size with a yard that don't wanna live in an apartment. So I think striking that very balance of single family home, multifamily home, conversions, infill, character, but at the same time, figuring out how do we build? I call them all the time, starter renter homes. We're missing them all over this place. And we figure, I think if we crack that nut, we open up because we're stagnant. We're stuck in the housing bell. No, there's no place for us to, I'm in that position. My wife and I, we've got a 3-bedroom home and it's the two of us. Where am I gonna move?
I guess I was interpreting it. I was conceptualizing it a little different, Chris. I was thinking like in my home, which is an old farm home, I could put doors up. I could put a wall up and cut it in half. Like I don't go anywhere. is my thinking. This is still my home. It would be an owner occupied, rental, rent half out. So I'm not sure why the idea would be necessarily where would these older folks go? It might be that we subdivide your home, so now we're creating housing for another young family, and that income from that side of the home helps support that senior who's trying to survive on Social Security.
Yeah, but the problem is what with that model is when the homeowner's gone and it's sold, who buys it?
Yeah,
Does it turn?
that's a really good question.
So it's planning is long term. A lot of this quick fill, ADUs, backfill every square, it's knee-jerk reaction to a problem of today. Not looking at what our future is, and it goes back to, I mean, Ron, it's happiness.
Yeah.
And making sure that we strike that very careful balance of growth. Do we expand outward instead of inward? Those are the kind of things we, as a planning commission, that's the nut that we're trying to break open and solve.
So I think.
But
I
you
think,
you don't think there are, sorry.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, I said, you don't think there are people out there that would like a house, I can buy this house, half of it is being rented. Oh, I have some income. Yeah, I'll buy this and live in this part of the big house. I'll live in half of it and rent out the half of it. Why wouldn't people be interested in that? I think many people would be very interested in that.
And today they are. And then when the house goes on the market, it's sold. When we see those
But that,
houses get sold.
that happens to rental properties all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Rental properties get sold all the time.
Right. Owner occupied to 100% rental property and oops, we're unstable somewhere. So this is a long, when we get into housing, we'll go down this bridge, down this road, but.
And two,
Can you hear me? It's frozen.
I can hear you, Melissa.
Yeah. We can hear each other. I don't think they can hear us.
It's okay.
I don't know.
Take over.
Is it?
so,
There we go.
Sorry, wait.
Housing,
Did we lose y'all on Zoom for a moment?
Yeah, you froze for not more than about 20 seconds.
Sorry about that. I realized I was on the wrong Wi-Fi.
housing is not responsibility of healthcare. The point, housing sure is their problem. Housing isn't the responsibility of education, but it sure is their problem. So, everybody has kind of a dog in this fight, and how we come up with solutions that I think make sure it's meeting the needs of the town, of the school district, of the community, and that all these folks have input on it. It's not just the housing silo that's here to fix housing and the education silo that's here to fix education. We need a broader cross-sector approach towards this one.
So
We absolutely do. I'm sorry to interrupt. We absolutely do. You're right. But the state of Vermont has adopted a housing first approach to healthcare, homelessness, addiction, education, employment. Everything hinges on stable housing.
Right.
And how we get there is the $1 million question. And that's, I go back to Ron's philosophy is, it's just that. How do we generate housing, but still maintain a quality of life that we all want to live in that housing? as a community, not
But
just me, and that's what we're here to do. Some of this housing is great, and we look at the soft spots, we backfill into those, we look at our growth areas, we look at how, if we do grow, let's say on the outskirts of the town, how do we provide services to those areas? Right now, if you want to build down in South 116, we can't build anything to help support those folks, so they don't have to drive all the way into town. So that's the big picture planning stuff that I think is gonna be, is actually the fun stuff. And we'll get there.
So maybe getting into the weeds, but our house, I'll start with our house over the last probably 75 years was one old lady in it. Then it was a dentist office. Then it was turned into multiple apartments. Then it was turned into a single family house. And now it's back. And that all changes. You know, to your point, Chris, it changes. And you always run the risk of not having great neighbors. I mean, we've had neighbors that had turkeys in their backyard. And all sorts of things, not that it bothered us, but the thing is we get so sterile with zoning regulations that we have basically eliminated at least 2 boarding houses in town in the last, again, 50, 75 years. We have taken, and at one point until the state came back and said, okay, if you have a single family house, so you can have a duplex too by right. We had taken and pretty much made it almost impossible to have more than 1 unit per half acre. As we go down this path, and there is some innovation, but not a lot, but we need to look at sewage state sewage requirements. Start putting requirements on lots based on what the capacity is to put a sewage system on it, not by the square footage of the lot.
I'm hearing a lot here. And I think this goes to show that housing definitely is going to be one of the largest topics in this town plan update. And I also think it's important to have these conversations here, but also, Ellen and Melissa, this goes to you as being in the people group, but to talk to the community as well on what types of housing are needed, where people would want the housing. These topics that we're having here to bring it to the community as well and get that reflection on what folks are needing, what type of housing they would want to see, what type of housing they would not want to see.
What type of housing would they want to live in?
What type of housing they would want to live in, exactly. And to get that community input and then bring that back to the planning commission to then use the housing needs assessment data that is vast and out there. And then compare that to what the people are actually saying and compare that to the conversations we're having here to find some paths forward. And of course, we're not going to figure that out tonight. But I've definitely noticed that there's some running topics here of housing type, housing location.
To what you were saying before about asking people what type of housing they would like. I mean, you're gonna get affordable. Oh,
Can I pipe in?
they have that in their mind.
Yep.
I think so, like they want, kitchen look, I mean, just like,
Well, I think that also goes to an education thing on like what is affordable housing. Because I think when people think about affordable housing, a lot of folks think firehouse apartments, but how does that housing get built? And something that I think Shannon brought up briefly was the CHIP program.
which is,
the Community Housing Infrastructure program. And I will be bringing in someone to talk to you all about that, so don't worry. I'm not gonna dive into the deep end. I've been learning about it myself. It's a new state initiative. But definitely that is an option for getting forward. But I just want to summarize kind of what I've been hearing from y'all. So that we can keep note of it and bring it up in future conversations, because definitely we'll need to have more. Ellen, I see you. I just wanna get through my kind of notes before, we go on. So I'm hearing a lot about balancing not only housing type, but where people wanna live, how people wanna live, the economic, impacts of housing too, both on kind of the landowner side of their choice to make an economic, incentive of lowering their mortgages perhaps through renting out their units. And I'm also hearing kind of a running theme of, opening up the discussion on housing options themselves while also keeping a balance on certain constraints and factors that we simply can't control. Having your point on septic is a big one. I think that is, there are a lot of housing needs, but also when we think about housing, we need to consider the real barriers to housing, which can't be changed overnight, which is infrastructure, space, um, demand. Clearly, there's a demand for housing, but the types of housing, Bristol is aging. That is just a fact. And how do we bring people in while also, giving people that are aging a place to go or a place to stay, as your point, Ellen. And I think, in all these points, it really does come down to a community conversation. That will be throughout this whole thing and tying it into economic, into health, into municipal facilities on what can the town supply. We're doing a water line project right now to, upgrade the water lines and make those, less leaky and not full of lead. So those are two big steps to removing barriers and also making our community healthier. But overall, just wanted to note that we're talking a lot about balancing housing type, where do people go, and housing options. Just as some notes, not to say that we have to end this conversation here, but just to, keep a pin in it, and we can absolutely talk about housing further, and we will. That's not an if, we will talk about housing further. Especially as we start getting into the mapping exercises with Dubois and King, where they'll actually be doing workshops and leading the community through exercises on saying, hey, where do you want things? How do we think about land use? And housing is gonna be a big one of those. So just want to keep those notes there. I hear all of you. This is really great stuff. I'm excited about this. I'm glad that we're having these discussions. Ellen, I did see you and I want to give you a chance.
Yeah, just a couple of points. The housing assessment's pretty clear that the most desperate need obviously is with lower income Vermonters. And I hear reference to quality of life. And I feel an emotional response to that. I feel like there's some sense of, we've talked before about there being two Bristol. There are two Bristols essentially. And I think we need to put that out on the table and kind of talk about the Bristol that is the privileged homeowner who is making enough to afford housing. And then there are the Bristol residents who are really, really struggling. The VHIP program I've actually looked into, I interpreted that as an ADU program. But to get that money, you have to agree to rent to a family exiting homelessness for 5 years minimum. And again, quality of life. What is this town we want to live in? So, like, is that prohibitive for some homeowners who might be willing to create housing on their property, but maybe not willing to rent to a family that might be considered undesirable? It's not a pleasant conversation, but these biases exist. And these are people in our community who deserve access to housing and healthcare and education and jobs. The only ask, I'll leave that there, pause. AZ, you've been going to farmers markets and doing the tabling, and I'm just really curious about what kind of engagement you're getting there. Because Melissa and I did meet. We've been trying to figure out the most effective, efficient way to engage the community in discussion. And I was just curious about what you're observing at the farmers markets.
Yeah, it's been kind of slow. I think one, it might be just down to where the table is set up. And I'm working on that. I think we've been tucked in the corner and people are focused on food. Which it's the farmer's market, people are hungry. But I think also a lot of the feedback I get is that Bristol's a great place. And I think that is great to hear. But also part of me goes, okay, and why? And I think that a lot of the feedback that I've been getting has been folks that are able to come to the farmers market and shop there, or like it's been slow and steady. I think we're building as each one that we're there. This is, I think, our fourth. This past week was our fourth or third. So hopefully as we continue to be there and just be a presence of like spreading the word, and that's been my biggest thing in the farmers market tabling, is just getting the word out there that we're doing this work. And really, we've been running an activity called Conserve, Revise, Transform, which really is trying to get people to start thinking about like, what are the things about Bristol that if it disappeared, you would be upset about? So like, what do you want to conserve and protect? What are some things that you wish changed completely? And off the top of my head, I think one of the cutest ones was a kid put in the transform that they wanted a splash pad. Um, so I've been getting some good like a wide range of age groups and demographics. Been really just trying to bring people's attention to the fact that we're doing this update and what the town plan is, and really trying to get folks just to start thinking about what is working, what isn't working, what they want to protect and see continue, what folks would like to see change or maybe just slightly tweaked. But that's been a lot of the engagement right now. I'm hosting a community discussion on Sunday that will dive a little bit further, and this is part of the social resilience process guide, diving a little bit further into some community conversations on Bristol's strengths and weaknesses. We're going to be doing kind of a whirlwind tour of all the different topics that you could possibly talk about in the town plan. But at that community discussion, I'm really hoping to get a wider turnout. And I've also been thinking about how do we reach a wider net too. And I think that's been a big part of this whole like planning coalition idea of having the work groups that then work with Addison Housing Work or Mountain Community Health or Addison County Economic Development Corporation, using these organizations and stakeholders that already have the connections to people that we're trying to reach, to utilize them as not only resources for what they have in expertise, but also as a branching network to folks that might not be at the farmers market or might not be on Front Porch Forum because they don't have internet access. So that's how the farmers market has been going, slow but steady. A lot of folks, honestly, I don't really think have really thought about the town plan. I had something else that's been coming up has been people have been coming up to me going, "Oh, is this a plan for the village?" And I think that's also a very important. Honestly, it flagged to me because I was like, "Oh man, are we getting the folks that are living out in the rural countryside to like actually participate in this too?" Because it's not just the village that we're thinking about, it's the entire town. It's the town plan. And Bristol is not just the village, it is the rural communities. I know I can't remember the name of it, but Addison Housing Works has a community down on South 116, Maple Ridge. No, not it.
No, it's on Farm, it's the apartments up on the hill.
There's-
Not Hunt Farm, there's the.
Maple Ridge is
That's
just right
Maple
at,
Ridge.
right
Okay,
at the
So-
town line.
Yeah, Maple Ridge, right down on the town line. I believe they have 9 homes there. So it's a small community, but it's still a housing community of lower income folks. Not saying all of them are lower income, but we have these pockets of communities that are not segregated, but they are disconnected from the downtown core. And how do we bring those folks in? And I've been working, I've reached out to Addison Housing Works and I gave them my flyer for the event and I said, can you get this out to your communities, please? And just spread the word. And I've been working, Du Bois King's been working on the public participation plan. They're wrapping that up, and that will be another resource for not only me, but the planning commission and Du Bois King, so we're all on the same page on how do we reach people? What is the message that we're trying to reach out to with of what feedback we want? And how are we approaching these community conversations? And a big thing that I know I've been working in the background is the social resilience process guide, and I take that as more of just a way to get to these, a way to approach these really difficult conversations on housing, on health, on economic issues that are really, they are emotional. They are tough because it is your livelihood. It is your community where you go to work, you go to play, your kids go to school, where you live. And I think when we approach these conversations, it's important to come at it from that people perspective of how are we making people thrive. So hope that answered your question. I might have gone a little long-winded there. But farmers market has been slow and steady. A lot of just getting the word out of like, we are doing this. We want to hear from me.
So I want to go back to the peanut gallery. This is really intense up here. But let me just leave you with something that I'm seeing and that I truly believe. You have incredible integrity in the process that you're using here. I think you have great leadership, and again, a good vision. And I found that anytime there is integrity in the process, it's going to take you to a good place. It might not be the place you thought it would take you, but it's going to take you to a good place. And I would just really encourage you to keep pushing this. I think this is really, really important. I think you're on the right track. And again, anything I can do to help out, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
So much.
So are we sort of wrapping that up, or are we ready to move on to administrative matters?
Well, we do have the item for B through C, or B through D.
Oh, yep.
But I can, in sake of time, I would like to open up the discussion on the town plan implementation task. In the review of that, unless there's any other comments, I don't know.
Anybody have any other comments about what AZ's covered so far? I think we can move on.
Cool. So as we're beginning this update process, I think it's important to at least review. And we did this back in November too, an initial review of the implementation tasks. But for this round, I've asked the Conservation Commission and the Energy Committee to do their own review of their individual tasks from the current town plans implementation tasks. And I wanted to bring this to the Planning Commission just to take a look at what the next steps were from the 2020 town plan and where the status is on those, and also just to kind of do a check-in on what is relevant, what has already been done, going through these as a review and a jumping off point. And there is a document where I went through the master implementation task, and I apologize that the font on that is not the most friendly to read on a printout. It is something that you can blow up, and I will work on getting that into a more readable format. But I would like to go over that implementation, the master.
So are we starting with conservation, or are we starting with the master?
That's up to you. Where do you want to start? You have the conservation and energy in your hand.
I do. I was just reading through it. I hadn't really read through a lot of it, so, I see they're about as far along as we are in their plan. So, I guess you're gonna vote, if you can vote that out, I can't read this at all.
Yep.
I
I
know.
know,
You don't wanna start here, just like, read this one. Start calculating.
yeah, I'll try to figure out a way to get these into a better format. These are all Excel documents, so taking an Excel document and trying to make it into a PDF or any other document is a
Yeah.
technological hurdle. Start with the conservation, since that one might be the most legible of all three of these. And I think conservation has done a great job with putting together management plans for all the parks. I believe all of them have either been approved or in pending review, or preparation. So they're working towards their management plans for the town parks, and I think that's important to consider in this town plan update is the work that they've done. And um. The work that has been done. Yeah.
Rather than. This stuff looks like we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Rather than do a summary or discussion of what's been done. I would be more interested in each one of these groups saying. Not only what they've done, but what they think needs to be done. I think that's a whole lot more pertinent
Yep,
than what's been done.
no, I agree,
And-
yeah,
I mean, at this point, I think this is pretty granular for us to be. Looking at this kind of stuff at this point.
yeah, and I very much agree. The reason why I wanted to review this was to look at, what they think should be done and kind of what. In the areas that things weren't done, why they weren't done. Of like, is it simply that that it just wasn't as important to the community?
But a very cursory look at this is just what they've done, it's not the whole package. Is that fair?
Yeah, this is just like a progress update. But with some of these, like for the identify significant public scenic resources, they're in quotations, they have what are public scenic resources? And those kind of reviews of like what is a public scenic resource?
And more importantly, is it important? I mean,
Yes.
it is, I mean,
Yes.
I'm just picking that one, I mean, you and I've had this debate a
Yeah.
couple times already, I mean, to me. This is all great for basic information to look at and read, but to really truly dive into a town plan and plan for the future. I don't need this. I think we start over. I mean, a lot of this is minutia, that if we say we wanna get to X. But if we keep looking here and we're going to Z, we're gonna keep going Z. I think we're gonna get stuck in the rut.
I tend to agree with you, but I think. It's important to look at their perspective on what. They're missing.
Yeah, but
That will build that. What's the next steps might be.
right, I'd rather have them come in, hand them a blank piece of paper and say, give us 10 things that you need, that you see are missing. Not, here's a whole list of stuff that we think's important right now, or we thought was important, can you tell us, can you check the ones you like? So. I agree that I think the Conservation and Energy Commission, working with the house, whoever we wanna work with. To bring those ideas, and then that helps us evolve our bigger picture, that then we go, okay, how do we get to? Building a tram to the top of Deer Leap. I'm just going, I had to go obscure and unrealistic, I didn't want anything to be. It was very intentional, that was a very intentional piece.
And yes, thank you, Chris, because we have had these
Yeah.
conversations of, not trying to take this as a review of like what we should do going forward, but to take this as like a jumping off point of where we should go next. And, just as a reference point of, what is missing, what is needed still, kind of tying this into reviewing the implementation task to then segue into review of the vision statement of like, what is the goal? What is the vision? What are we trying to implement? What is missing and needed? And take that review from the implementation, not of like a status report of like, oh, we have done this. I mean, also that too, because we don't want to repeat things that have already been done. But that's what I brought to y'all today.
Well, I think they've done a fair amount of work, right? I mean, if they've, management plans for the parks, they've got. Other, just. From the pollinator gardens to whatever, they've listed a lot of things in different topics, park management plans. They
Yeah,
talk to
I-
towns outside about bike trails and stuff, I mean.
I don't wanna distract from what they've done, but I
Right.
think as we go forward. We need to get from them. What they haven't done that they think is important.
Or what they think, yeah,
To
still
Chris's
to be
point,
done.
other things too.
Right.
The other thing I've harped on before, because I remember the comment made at the last town plan. Open review to the planning commission is, there was a comment that there was too many implementation plans. We just made it an impossible document to implement
Yeah,
based on. How many we had.
you hear that?
That's also why I wanted to just bring this up again before we really start diving in is alignment with the vision and goals of like where do y'all want to go? What is needed? What is missing? And that kind of ties into the activity I've been doing at the farmers market of the conserve, revise, transform of what do we want to stay the same and keep on working on? What are some things that people are like, I'm rocking with this, but man, oh man, I wish that it was slightly different. And I can absolutely reach out to the advisory boards. The bike pedestrian advisory board was chartered after the town plan was approved. So they have no tasks. So they are truly a blank slate. And want to make sure that they are also involved in this process too, as
But if you, am I talking too much?
not at all.
But we've got. Implementation action items that are germane to their charter, that we just need, or you need to, or we need to just call out. Those types of things that may have been assigned to the planning commission, the select board, or whoever. That now is something that. They can chew on for, next few months or years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also part of what this review was looking at was like. What still aligns in terms of like what we're working towards and what is missing or what is not needed. That was the three things. What's working, what's missing, what's not working, and it's no longer needed. And I hear you on, we kind of need the energy and conservation and bike ped to actually give us this is what's missing, this is what we've noticed. Review instead of just what they have done. So I will work on getting that from them. The action that I put on tonight was update implementation tasks, but really that is more of an action on agreeing if there should be updates to the implementation tasks, or basically if these are in alignment, or if there's anything that needs to be further reworked. I don't necessarily know if that action is applicable tonight anymore. But just wanted to put something on the agenda of like moving forward momentum.
So aren't the goals, what are they, goals, policies, goals and implementation plans, aren't those all derivatives of the finished plan?
Yeah. Since we already have an existing plan, the order in which I've been working on bringing things to your attention have been a little different than how you would, than how the planning manual puts things, or where you start with your community assessment and then you go to your vision statement and then your goals and policies and then you map it out and then you make it happen. But we already have an existing plan that's pretty decent. So. I'm not trying to rewrite the wheel, or the wheel doesn't need to be rewritten. I,
Okay.
I sort of agree with that, it's like. We need to create the. Vision and the goal. Or at least what the vision is. You wanna get to here.
that's a great segue, Chris.
It is a great segue.
Um, so maybe, so the action item on. Item
D.
4C, maybe it's postponed or canceled then.
But I think we postpone it because we really want to look at it from a different angle, not, again, not so much what have they done, what do they need in the future? Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think since we've got an action, we've got to take action, and if it's to table it, then that's the action.
I'll make a motion to table this until. Good God, the hard tabling, you have to give it a hard date. Then
Put in November.
and
You have to put a date on
you can table it, but if you table indefinitely, that means it's sitting out there untouched, basically untouchable.
You say to like
Oh,
November
yeah.
meeting, and we'll have the exact date, and then we have to know.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, let's table it until November, and we'll be very vague, but
Better than nothing.
yeah, let's start there. That'll give us a couple months also to chew on and come up with ideas in our own heads. So I make a motion to table it until November.
Second, thank you, Slim.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion? I'll get there. So no further discussion, from everybody who agrees, say aye.
I,
All set with, item 4C, and we're gonna move on to D, the vision. Which I have read, I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to read through it.
So for tonight, this was, I'm kind of taking, an approach I wanna start is, start with initial review. To start some initial discussions. And then at the next meeting, get into a further deep dive into like actual nitty gritty, maybe wording or. If anything needs to change, but for tonight, just being an initial review. Some initial discussion on it, and then, following up with the August meeting with a more further deep dive, but, this is the vision from the 2020 town plan. I just wanted to, bring it up for a little review. Make sure, my biggest thing is always, it's been 8 years since the last plan was written, so does the vision statement still hold true?
and it starts out with the following broad vision reflects, so that's verbatim right out of the town plan.
Yep, this is,
Wow.
quite literally pulled from the page.
This is page 7 of the current plan.
Yep. I just extracted the page from the PDF. I
Double wordy.
Well,
It's very wordy.
oh,
It's for a vision statement is supposed to be. 3-4 lines, 3-4 quick, and then you build out from that and. Just go.
it's something, I mean, that's part of it, but Bristol citizens, this is the start, Bristol citizens will have a deep sense of community. Don't tell me how to feel, I mean, what the heck's that? Why do I have to have a deep sense of, I mean, what is that all about? I didn't get it, I'm sorry, being.
yeah, I wasn't here when it was.
I'm just saying. What is that about? I mean, I don't know who did that, but that type of, I mean, sorry, I'm getting a little much here, but
No, I
that
mean,
kind of comment seems to me like. That's vision, that everybody has a deep sense of community. Is that something that I'm missing?
No, you're not.
Mhm. Will have is a little strong and
Loners. I like the loners, I mean.
Well, it does say deep sense of community yet remain independent and self-reliant. There you are, son.
Yeah. I just don't think we need it.
So,
But some independent, I agree with, I mean, I think we should take, and this is mine, is let's review this and come back with some suggestions.
Yeah,
There's a lot to digest here.
A little editing.
I've read it a dozen times and my head hurts every time I do.
There's a lot of motherhood and apple pie here.
Yeah, so.
And there's a lot of repetition,
Um,
ideas.
Yeah.
So-
Things that I see overlapping
yeah,
throughout that could be condensed
Yeah.
into something a little less wordy.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this as an initial review, just so the planning commission as a whole could go, whoa. Or go, yeah, or go, but to have this review and. To start the cogs rolling on some thoughts for the next meeting. I can pull it up real quick, but. Something that I think about when I read this vision is that actually on page 6 of the town plan, there's the purpose statement. And that purpose statement is 4 bullet points. And that's actually the purpose statement that's in the planning commission's policies and procedures document. And that purpose, yeah, I'm gonna do it as well.
Yeah, I gotta review
Thank you.
But that purpose statement is 4 bullet points, and I think it does an excellent job of summarizing this entire page.
Right, it says in planning for the future of Bristol, the planning commission has kept in mind 4 fundamental charges. To protect the health and beauty of this remarkable natural setting, foster a vibrant, prosperous and socially inclusive human community. To support the historically successful and commercially sound downtown. And to sustain our foundation of value-added natural resource-based industries.
Yeah.
We could grow from that, but. I like how it's short.
I do, I know,
yeah.
Lim, he's not particularly happy with the 4th bullet point on there.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, we can be. The beauty is we're gonna change stuff, let's be real. So we can discuss any of these things, but
But that's a way easier way to read a vision statement than.
Yeah.
Than what's in. All of that stuff is in here
many times.
many times. Very repetitive in what they talk about.
Yeah, so I definitely hearing that there's, I think for the next meeting, to give y'all homework. You don't have to do it and you can tell me that your dog ate it. But
After I did so much work on it.
but to start thinking of on this vision statement and coming up with some possible edits or revisions or your own ideas for the next meeting. And at the August meeting, we'll be diving further in depth to this vision statement. And one of my goals for the next statement or next meeting is to really increase public awareness of it. So that we actually have some public participation in the discussion, maybe just during public comment, but getting the public out there too, so that they know that we're working on the vision statement and discussing it. And like it says in the at the beginning of this, that it was the following broad vision reflects both research and consideration by the planning commission and many eloquent comments by residents attending public meetings. And I do think the vision statement it comes from the planning commission, yes, but it also has to come from the people.
I mean, that's almost like a prelude. Statement to the beginning, like, here's, look at all the work we did, here's why we did it. Now, here's what it actually is what this, it's almost like it's backwards.
Yeah. So
A lot.
Would you like us to share? I mean, I don't have a problem with. This is the kind of thing I'd rather do, with sitting down and kind of condensing it and rewriting. Do you want us to share that with you? Before the meeting?
please send me your thoughts. Should have access to the shared town plan update folder. If you don't and you have trouble accessing it, please let me know. If it's just simply not how you operate, no worries. Feel free to email me your things and I will put it in there.
I've never tried to add anything. I probably could.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I could add.
Yeah, you should be able
Okay,
to
I did
add,
not know that.
and.
If anybody else didn't know that, I'm sorry also, because I
Yeah.
didn't think to ask the question. I go there and read this stuff. I did not realize I had.
Where do I find
access.
that? I don't know
It's, I will if you don't know about it, I will resend that tomorrow. It is the town plan, collaborative effort shared folder that everyone has access to. The different advisory boards, the consultant, me, y'all, anyone who's working on this town plan update has access to it. There is a planning commission specific folder that y'all can add, download, add documents to. There's even individual work group folders, so, that. And it, again, if that is just not how you work technologically wise, no worries, please email me things and I'll put them in the proper folder, but.
Or drop them off in hand.
Or bring them to me paper wise and I'll scan them and put them in there too, but. Yes, for next meeting, come up with some notes, edits, revisions, thoughts.
Okay.
Initial discussion statements. That is the homework. Any questions on that? Melissa?
Nope, I'm good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd say we can move on to administrative matters. Approval of minutes from June 16th. Full disclosure, I did not read the minutes. So I'm going to have to abstain.
I move to accept them as presented.
Second.
Everyone who agrees, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain. Ellen, I didn't hear you.
I said aye, yes.
Part B, work sessions and second meeting date discussions. I know that Slim and I have met, you know that Ellen and.
Melissa. Yep.
Ellen- Sorry, in my brain. Matt, I don't know who else has met, you've not met, okay? And who's Rob's on?
Or Bill,
Okay.
for the work group sessions, I also, I wanted to offer that I'm here. Before the meetings, and wanted to offer that for any work groups that are. Having our, looking for maybe a time and a place, that if I'll be here. 2 hours before the meeting, I don't go home, I just am here, so, offering, offering this space.
You haven't forced them to sleep on a cot yet.
I haven't asked for the cot yet.
You get to go home though after we're done here.
But wanted to offer that for any of the work groups, that if you're looking for a place to meet or just wanting to like discuss things. That I'll be here before the meeting starts at 7 and that, there's a space and a time for. Y'all to do work group sessions before.
Okay, and then the other question I had regarding that, just because it would be helpful. If I had decent life. This Slim and I were trying to work on, I really needed that map, I couldn't get it to come up to do that, so if we decide to meet during that time, do we need to make an appointment to use this room, or can we just sort of show up?
Send me an email,
Okay,
just send me an email so I know
we
that,
could do that,
That's a good.
that would be very helpful.
yeah, because that way I can also help you make maps, I can help with administrative stuff, like. That's why I wanted to bring up the work group session, was like, I'm here before these meetings. And wanted to offer that time as a resource for anyone on the planning commission, any of the work groups, or just individuals to come in and, have Wi-Fi, have other resources that.
We could come in any day and sit down here also, is that like
Monday through Thursday,
Yeah.
during working hours probably.
But just.
Yeah, weekdays during the day, it's pretty open, you just shoot a message.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say 95% of the time this space is open.
yeah,
Okay.
if it's after hours, let me know, I am usually here until 6. So, but
Okay.
Tuesdays, before these meetings, absolutely.
Yeah.
That 2 hour time block from 5 until 7, I will be here. that this space is open for y'all to use. Any other time, just let me know. Sounds good.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns or about meeting up? Are you having difficulty?
Just have to do it.
Finding time.
So I've got, I don't know where it falls in, but this forum on this coming Sunday, I think it is.
Mhm.
And it would be, should the planning commission go? Is it desirable? Is it required? Is it stay away?
It is something I'm leading, if you're interested in coming, I welcome that. If you have plans, I completely understand. Do want to be cautious of if you do plan on coming, please let me know, because if we do hit that quorum of planning commission members, but if, just let me know if you wanna come. Let me know if you're planning to, just so I can,
I will probably go.
yeah, great,
I'll probably go.
okay.
People can be together, we're just gonna have any action items in the agenda to work from, it can't be any working.
Cool.
In unintentional groupings, we run into it at the fire station all the time. Where we had multiple select board members in the same room, and for a while it was a quorum, but they could still be in the same room.
But they weren't doing select board business.
Correct. And this really isn't, this is more,
Yeah, so I guess you guys, please come as community members.
yeah,
I mean, it's not. It's not a big deal to make a meeting, is it? We have to do.
Just 7 days notice, so like something,
Okay,
right, 7 days posted.
48 hours
Oh, it's 48 hours. So
for a
48
meeting, and at that point, it could be a special meeting with 24 hours notice. But, I don't know. There won't be any action items at the planning commission, it's a community discussion, it's very informal, I don't see it being a huge issue. And I encourage y'all to come and listen. Give
What
your own
time on
perspective.
Sunday? Where?
the
Sure, it's
first-
posted it, but
Yep, it's gonna be at the Bristol Rec Pavilion, the hours are 4 to 8 PM, and I know that seems like a really big window. But, I just wanna try to reach as many people in their own timing of like, people can come and join, people can leave. I will be putting out a little bit more of an agenda. A loose kind of like timing, so people know like, hey, if I show up at 5, I'm going to be able to be there for like the meaty discussions, but if I show up at 7, it's just gonna be like a question and answer. That kind of thing. But 4 to 8 PM at the Bristol Rec Pavilion. Snacks and beverages will be provided. No pizza though this time, I've learned my lesson. I got excited.
Well, that's great.
and that said, we talked about the second meeting as a whole group. Are we ready to start that? I mean, it's August or we,
I'm completely unavailable for that second meeting. But
just for the month of August.
the third, I have a commitment the first Tuesday of every month,
Okay.
but
Ellen.
I don't have to
Bill?
be, I mean, there's enough of you that can be a quorum, just. I don't have to be, so.
I can be available for a second meeting if needed.
And then, also,
So are you talking about August, you said? Or,
yeah, maybe starting in August, I think was the.
Yeah.
You have to do the date, our date normally would be, someone's got
It's the first and third Tuesday,
to.
and no
Good days.
decisions have to, now, this is just like an initial, like. Start to think about it, and
Yeah, we don't have to start it now, I just was, I feel like we need to get on that, we need to get a calendar and start doing it, because I
Yeah.
think we're
Is
supposed to.
Is one of the meetings only gonna be on the groups? Reporting what they're doing? And then everyone discussing that? Is that just one meeting? That's all it's gonna be?
It could be.
I
don't
mean,
know.
it would make sense if we're going to have a second meeting to facilitate that's pretty much all we do.
So I think what I'm hearing is that we don't want to start in August. I think we talked about it again. It goes on the agenda for next month, discuss it again. Hopefully
Yeah.
you groups can get together and, I have some information. I don't know what Slim and I are working on. I'm not sure what he's got. But, that could be shared with the group, because we have been working on that and I think everybody's been working on it.
Yeah.
Know what we're all.
Yeah, and the second meeting date would be. Could be devoted just to groups, but it also could just be another day for reviewing the vision statement, doing drafting, doing discussions, and then just a second date to move things along.
Okay. Any discussion?
But I'm sorry, you're breaking up just a little bit, so I'm not sure. Are we saying we're going to do a second meeting in August or not? And we're going to do it in September. I don't.
Gonna do it now. When we're gonna start again, we're gonna have the same discussion we're having tonight. About
Sorry, you
when,
broke up right in the middle of your sentence when you answered the question.
as I can try.
No August, yes September.
Okay, thank you. Zoom shorthand.
Yeah, shorthand was good.
I will be going on vacation in September.
Okay.
I will be leaving after the planning commission meeting, so it's not really gonna impact this stuff, but I will be going on vacation in September. Just putting it out there.
It's moving into the future, and the last 2 weeks of September, like they're about that, and things aren't fixed, and the first week of October, something like that. I won't be here, so.
Perfect. Just as administrative matters, if there are any vacations or plans, things that you're going on, please let me know so that I can keep that in mind. Just going forward. You don't have to tell me down to the minute feeling, but rough absences. Or planned away time.
All right, are we ready to move on to section 6? Public comment? We only have one public. So 7, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
I'll say,
everybody,
okay.
either way, Slimmer, Melissa, second. Everybody who's ready to go home, say aye.
I.
Hi.
See you guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Hello.